A lot of times we have trouble making tough decisions because we have an unrealistic ideal of who we are. It uncovered not only my own mortality, I am the bottleneck of most of my decisions. What I've come to realize, Dwayne, is that I'm not the product. The product is the product. How do I change my future? You have to change first before you change your circumstances. The fear of that trip came true. But I had to face that fear. Decision integrity means the decision survives the decider. Apply it to yourself first. That is the only version that works.
What happens when life makes you slow down and look at the choices that brought you here? In this episode, I'm joined by Todd Allyn, founder of Sovereo, whose work focuses on decision integrity and how people make choices under pressure. This conversation is about the decisions we make, the ones we avoid, and the ones we don't always recognize until life starts showing us the cost. The question I wanted to start off with is, why do some people I guess, have such a hard time making important decisions in their life?
You know, this has come even more into light for me since April 4th, when I don't know what the proper word to use would be, to contract shingles. I don't know what the medical term would be, but had a bout with shingles and shingles recovery since April 4th, and so this has come up in my thought process because, you know, the pain is sometimes unbearable and you're like, what is going on?
So Todd, for those who don't know, what is shingles?
Shingles is it's a viral attack on your nervous system that attacks a particular nerve root in your body. A lot of people get shingles later in life after they've had chickenpox. I had chickenpox when I was young, and so now at 63, it has come back in the form of shingles. And so the nerve root it attacked was from the middle of my back on the right side, around the right side, through my rib cage, and into the front part of my chest. So it follows that nerve, that nerve derma, and what it does, the virus basically attacks the nerves by eating let's say the fat part of the nerve system, and it causes a rash. You take an antiviral, the rash goes away, and then most people have what they call post-hermetic therapeutic syndrome, where the pain of the nerve endings still firing, thinking, you know, it's a burning sensation or an electrical sensation that is just incredibly intense. There's really no pain medication that you can take for it. But in answer to your question, a lot of times we have trouble making tough decisions because we have an unrealistic ideal of who we are.
What does that mean?
Choices and decisions are made based upon our values and based upon who we believe ourselves to be, in our self-schema. And there are a lot of things that if we really truly don't know ourselves, or if we think we know ourselves, sometimes we can fool ourselves. So as I was saying, going through this and contemplating, I really found out, Dwayne, that I am not as strong as I thought I was. Sometimes this pain has placed me in tears, literally crying like a baby. And the sad part about that is my wife loves me so much and she wants to be so helpful. When she sees me in this vulnerable position, there's nothing that she can do. And literally it uncovered not only my own mortality, but I have to really make choices and decisions that say, if I'm not here, or if I'm no longer able to perform a function or doing certain things physically, what happens to my family? What happens to my legacy? And I come to realize, Dwayne, that I am the bottleneck of most of my decisions and most of my processes. And I believe that if people were to be truly honest with themselves, Dwayne, they will realize that they are the bottleneck and they're the reason why it's so difficult to make tough choices. making a tough choice is simple. It's just not easy because sometimes we don't like the results of the choices that we make. We all think in terms of, Disneyland. You make a choice and everybody lives happily ever after. Sometimes we got to make tough choices, and people are not going to like the choices that are made. We see it all the time politically. We see it all the time at work. We see it all the time. And sometimes people make choices and decisions because they want the glory, but they don't want the responsibility.
Todd, when you said earlier that you're the bottleneck
Yeah.
of the decisions that you've made or contemplated in the past, what do you mean by bottleneck?
Okay. If I were to take a tributary, if I were to take a stream of water, and I place a rock in the center of that stream, it becomes what's called the bottleneck, meaning that it becomes the point in which it's very difficult for things to flow past. So I have become that bottleneck. For example, my business. My business is all about decision integrity. And I also have publications that come out weekly, that come out daily, that come out monthly. If I'm on my back April 4th through May 29th, nothing's created. That's a bottleneck because people are looking for that valuable service that's going to help them through their life. And if I'm unable to create if I'm unable to create the product, then that becomes a problem. That becomes a service problem that people can't get the things that they necessarily need in order to enhance their lives. That becomes a problem. What I've come to realize, Dwayne, is that I'm not the product. The product is the product. So what I have to do is to create an environment, create processes of decisions so that I am able to remove myself from whatever's being created and let the creativity flow, let the creation live. When Henry Ford created the assembly line, he basically created automation. He basically created an autonomous system that did not have to depend upon him to make important decisions to create the automobile. That is the reason why the Ford Motor Company has existed today. And this is why we all have benefits of automobiles because of what Henry Ford was able to create, that he was able to eliminate himself from being a bottleneck and allow the Ford Motor Company or allow the automobile to be created and to become its own entity. That's what I believe changed for me, is that I realized that in order to create a legacy, that I want to live beyond, 2 weeks past the repass of my demise, I have to totally eliminate me from the equation and allow the creation to live on its own.
So what does that mean for the average person when you talk about removing yourself from the equation so things can flow out of you, i.e. the product?
Stop believing your own press. A lot of times, we have this grandiose, almost messianic idea of who we are. I'm the bee's knees. I'm him. It's like, no, you're not. Him is him. You're not him. You are an important piece, but you really have to realize the role that you play in this thing we call life. I mean, I was talking to my wife last night, I'm sorry, because she's knee deep in a project. And I let her know, I said, listen, honey, this project will be here even when you're not. This project will be here even when you're not. The clothes that people wear, the clothes that people wear will be donated to someone else when you're not here. The house that you live in, the apartment that you live in will house other people when you're no longer here. Everything that you do is temporary. Everything that you do in this existence is temporary. It's not permanent. The only way that something can become permanent is if you remove yourself from the process and accept the fact that we are temporal, but you can influence the future by your actions, your activities, and your decisions. I'll give you an example. And I believe, Dwayne, and if I get long-winded, I apologize. It's because I was a college professor, that we talk. My mom passed January 8th. And I knew that she was not well in November. And so the hope was that I would be able to visit my mom in the States in November before her passing. One of the causes of shingles is stress. When I believed that I was being strong, I was actually unable to grieve my mother's illness or her sickness. And so now it's too late. And I believe that impacted me emotionally and stress-wise. So it lowered my overall immune system because, I was walking 10,500 feet up a mountain 3 times a week, up and down. Physically, I was okay. Mentally, psychologically, stress-wise, I was a wreck. I thought I was strong by not grieving. But that was a weakness on my part. And that was the beginning of the demise. That's what changed, right? Sleeping habits, all these different things. We thinking that we're being strong as men, as they say in the military sometimes, you suffer in silence, right? But no, mental health is just as important as the physical health.
It sounds like, based on what you've gone through and the experiences you've gone through, what you're saying essentially is people worrying about decisions, the outcomes, is almost pointless because whatever we do is going to be temporary. So don't put so much weight into thinking about the end outcome of a decision. Just make the decision and go through the activity because nothing is permanent.
Exactly. You have to be in the present, right? Tomorrow, manana, tomorrow doesn't exist. Yesterday is gone. We only have the present, and that's the gift. That's the gift from the Most High, is the present. So, I heard a good story yesterday. Is that a guy took a rock and he threw it into the woods and it hit a tree, and the tree was brittle, so the rock broke the tree. And the sound was immense. And there was a deer that was in the forest, and it heard the sound. It paused, it looked around, and then it quietly walked back into the forest. A wild boar heard the sound, and it startled him, and he started to scream and to run around the forest like he was crazy, screaming and hollering. And hunters heard the noise, found the wild boar, and killed it. So what killed the boar? Did the rock kill the boar? No, it's the response that the boar had to the rock making the noise. So we can respond. We have the power to choose how we respond to outside influences in our life. We have the power to choose how we respond to the choices and decisions that we make. Life happens. We win some, we lose some. But what's important is how we respond, which makes the difference.
What's interesting about that, when I think about the difficulty that people have in making decisions, especially important ones, is that initial thing you just talked about, the response to what that outcome will end up being. And part of what you're saying is don't worry about the outcome because, again, it's not permanent. But in a lot of decision making, we make decisions based on where we are now, where our life is currently, and what we've learned from our past. So when you talk about being in the present, I could imagine for some people who are trying to make decisions that are going to put them in a different situation in the future, how do you reconcile those two different perspectives? Because in one bucket, if I'm hearing you correctly, it's about make the decision based on being in the present, not putting too much stock in the future. However, part of the decision that you are making this new change on is in hopes for a different future.
Okay. That's well put. And you're good, man. You're good. Here's the challenge that I see with this, Dwayne. Number one, we make decisions with incomplete information. We can't predict the future. We try to predict the future. We try to determine what will happen if then this, if then that. But here's the fallacy with a lot of that. We are the same person. We're the same input. The input of us hasn't changed. We're the same person. When we look back at our lives, we say, man, I am where I am because of the choices and decisions that I made. Okay? So how do I change my future? By changing my decisions? But you're the same input. The thing that has to change is the input. You have to change first before you change your circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I'm looking at my bank account. I'm like, really? I mean, 38 cents in a checking account? Well, how did I get here? Well, it's poor choices and decisions that I made. Well, I thought that they were good choices and decisions, but they turned out not to be because stuff happens. Okay, how do you solve that? Do you solve it you think you solve it by getting more money. Okay, but if you get more money, but you're still the same person that manages the money the same way, you're going to end up right back where you were. Right? I mean,
so that's a great
ahead.
point. So that's a really good point. I really love that example. So going back, what decision or decisions led you to seeing 38 cents into your checkings account?
I always thought I would be able to produce when needed. I believed that I could produce. I believed that I could do X, Y, Z. I believed that I had this messianic belief in myself in able to produce lifestyle. Why? Because, I worked jobs and received good income and could always depend upon, every 1st and 15th or every 14 days or every 15 days or whatever, that something was going to happen. And it was something that was basically outside of me. When you work a job, you basically are dependent upon someone else to finance your lifestyle. You're hoping that they're able to generate revenue consistent enough that every 1st and 15th it hits your bank account on time. And if it doesn't hit your bank account on time, you're making phone calls, hollering and screaming at somebody like, where's my money? Well, did you produce the revenue for that? Or were you receiving someone else's ability to generate revenue, in a sense? So, having been forced into retirement and all those different things, I'm thinking, okay, well, I have this, as I said, messianic belief that I would be able to create something. If you're sick, if you're unable to operate, if you haven't put things in place that automatically are able to produce even when you're not there, then that becomes a lie that you believe, that you've told yourself. It doesn't matter if you're told a lie 1,000 times, it doesn't make it truth. A lie is a lie. We can dress it up. No matter if we put lipstick on a pig and put a cape on it and have it run down a runway 1,000 miles an hour, pigs still don't fly.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to be honest with ourselves, Dwayne. And that's the thing. That's the reason why most people it's difficult to make tough decisions is because we're not willing to be honest with ourselves. We're not willing to peel back the onion and look at ourselves from just naked, realistic viewpoint of who we are.
From that example with the 38 cents in the checkings,
Yeah.
when you came to that reality, what did you have to be honest with yourself?
What did I have to be honest with myself? That I have to change I have to change who I am, and I have to change how I manage things.
What did that journey look like?
What does it look like? Oh man. I mean, we hide behind titles. We hide behind our education. Oh, I have a liberal arts education in one of the finest schools in the United States. Okay. How'd that work out for you when you see 38 cents in your checking account? Also realizing that we are not as independent as we believe, that sometimes we become very codependent. And if people that we are codependent upon have faults, have fractures, because we all do, then, what are we building our foundation upon? We all have sinned and come short of the glory of the Most High. We all have faults. We're created perfectly, but we are not perfect. So we have to really be honest with ourselves. What does Todd have to do now? And what does Todd have to do every single day to get better? That I can't depend upon what I did in high school, what I did in undergrad, what I did last week, who I worked for in the past. That means absolutely nothing. What value can I bring today? Just like your program. I love your program, Dwayne, because I think that the guests that you've had on your program are top shelf, and the information that they provide is exceptional. And the thing I like about your program most is that if people really listen to the guests that you have, you'll see an underlying theme that as human beings, we are imperfect. We're always going to be faced with some seemingly insurmountable task. But if we're honest with ourselves and we dig deep, we can find a solution. Mm-hmm. But the solution is temporary, because then we got to go to the next one.
One of the things that come to mind as you're talking is this fear of making the wrong decision. And when we rely on old patterns, things that we've consistently have leaned on, be it consciously or subconsciously, how did you, and maybe this could help share with others, get over that fear to be able to make a different decision, to think about yourself in a new perspective than you currently have?
Right. Fear is forget everything and run. Right. Forget everything and run. Fear. Without failure, there can be no success. So fear is moving into the unknown. It's part of the process. And the difference between a hero and a coward is what they do with that fear. Does a coward forgets everything and runs? A hero recognizes that he's afraid, but he perseveres. If you stop and run, you're going to be faced with the same thing again in the future, because you have to overcome that. You have to be able to overcome that challenge. Just the other day, and this is just an example. My wife suggested, my wife is doing research, and she's using Google and she's using Claude, and she's doing everything she can to help me to overcome this post shingles pain that I'm experiencing. So she found this neurologist in this process, and it's northern part of Bogota, and the traffic is is ridiculous. But we need to take a taxi, and I'm fearful that every time I hit a bump when I'm in a taxi, it just radiates through my entire body, and there's just absolutely no relief, and it is just so painful, and it hurts like the dickens. And she's like, "Well, we've got an appointment at 10. We can leave at 8." And I'm like, "Oh my God." And I'm just thinking about this. I'm thinking, man, this is going to hurt so bad. But I'm like, okay, honey, we'll go do it. I don't know if it's going to work. It's like homeopathic medicine. I don't know if it's going to work, but we will see. Get in the car, and it's just as I said. It is horrendously painful. And there's no relief, and we're in a taxi with no shocks, no shock absorbers, and we're hitting every single bump in traffic and starting and stopping. And the pain was just unbearable. And the fear of that trip came true. Everything that I thought was going to happen happened on that trip. But what I didn't know was that at the end of that trip, that the visit to the doctor's office was pleasant, and they belayed some of the fears that I had. They answered some of the questions that I had from a scientific perspective, because I think, hey, I studied, neuroscience, and that, yeah, I need to understand what's happening. They explained it, and they told me, I said, well, yeah, am I getting injections or what's going on? I said, yeah, you're going to get injections along the neural path of the virus took. Well, how many? About 15 to 20. Oh, okay. Took it. Dwayne, it was almost as instantaneously, it took all of the pain away. And I was able to function at a high level again for at least 24 hours, as I said. I said, all the decisions you make are temporary. But I had to face that fear. And was it painful? Absolutely. Was it as horrible as I thought it would be? Absolutely, even if not worse. I mean, the reason I'm wearing this shirt is because just the weight of a shirt on my skin hurts.
What's really interesting about that is when we think about making a decision, I learned recently that no decision that you make is easy or pain-free in a lot of ways. Like, there will be some sort of response to it that makes you feel uncomfortable. I think what we need to more or less focus on is the change we're moving towards more in alignment with our future self. And that's the sort of pain response or uncomfort response that we can sit with and be more comfortable with, because we know that this is more aligned with our future self, versus making no change, which I recently found out was probably the highest percentage of regrets in people's lives when they look back, is taking no action. Yeah. More so than people who have taken the wrong action, because at least those people have had evidence and stories to tell. But taking no action obviously is I think in a lot of ways death in life. It means you're not living if you're taking no action. You're making the wrong decision. That's fine. You learn from it. Hopefully there's no failure if you're learning from it. So I always say fail forward. But ultimately, even if that decision is the right decision, it will never feel that way in the moment. But over time, you'll realize that it's more aligned with you.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's the magic of life, isn't it? Is to have an understanding or an idea of what the future you would look like, and then moving towards it. And that's part of the idea, is that you imitate what it is that you want to become. You want to become a millionaire, well, you imitate the lifestyle of a millionaire. A lot of times people believe that the lifestyle of a millionaire is spend, spend, spend. But most millionaires, if you look at the Millionaire Next Door, the book called The Millionaire Next Door, you find that most millionaires are very frugal. And they make sure that whatever it is that they buy quality as opposed to name brand, in a sense, right? So, yeah, we have to figure out what that lifestyle, what that life would look like, and then seek to mimic those things, to do the things that successful people do. Who is an example that you want to become like? For me, it was Reginald Lewis in the book called Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun? My favorite book of all time. I want to become more like Reginald Lewis. Okay, well, what did he do? How did he go about his life? How did he go about his business? And what can I incorporate into my own lifestyle and my own business in doing that? Or to be like T. Boone Pickens, right? Or to be like J.C. Penney, or there's a lot of stories of people who've become successful who came from backgrounds similar to ours, who fought incredible odds, and then they were able to do certain things in their life to create a different lifestyle. I think that's one of the things that's missing from our education system, is to show us examples of people's lives, showing the good part and the bad part, but showing that being persistent, consistently doing certain things will help you reach a level in your life that you want.
You brought up a really good example of aspiring towards the change you want by looking at people who are already there, who are already doing it. That's one of the main reasons why I have this podcast, is for people who are looking to create change and need to hear from professionals who have gone through those changes and have built a life on the success of those changes, so people can listen and watch and learn and understand from people like yourself, Todd. So for somebody right now who is thinking about a career move, who's thinking about money moves, relationship moves, what would you give them right now in terms of a framework in the steps to make that decision?
Wow. I would say the first step will always be to look within first. You give me a broad range. You're talking about relationships, you're talking about money, you're talking about career. Those have different, each one has a different dynamic. A lot of times people choose a career because of the money, not necessarily because they enjoy the work. As far as career is concerned, I would always say this: choose a career that you enjoyed so much that you would do it for free, but you're so damn good at it they decide to pay you. As far as career, that because if you enjoy the work that you do, you never work a day in your life. As far as significant other, I would say choose someone that not only motivates you, but pushes you to become better than who you are at the current moment. A lot of people are in relationships that they can't say that they can't, when the going gets tough, they can't depend on that person to be there because the relationship is transactional. I knew the character of my wife before we got married because our values and our beliefs and our practices are the same, and that has held true. A person can say what they want, but their actions reveal everything. Mm-hmm. We said career, we said relationship. Am I missing something?
Money. Yeah, let's go through a list. Money.
Right, money. Money. Maximizing your dreams, organizing your life to overcome obstacles, networking to net worth, enjoying life, and yielding value. Money.
Ooh.
That's money. It's not currency. It's not this stuff. They make this stuff every day. And the only value that this has is the value that we believe it to have. We put the value on this thing. This is 2,000 or 200 pesos. This is 200 pesos. This is just a piece of metal. It has 200 pesos because they wrote it on it and we believe it to be that value and we can exchange that. But if we can create something and it helps people to solve a problem or overcome an issue that they have, we can put any value on it that we would be willing to exchange and people will pay us. So maximizing your dream, organizing your life to overcome obstacles, network to net worth, enjoying life and yielding value is different than this. Because one has unlimited ability, the other has limited based upon the box that people put in it. So any kind of money-making decision that we have, whether it's tied to lifestyle or whether it's tied to, accumulating things, it really depends upon how much energy and effort we put behind it. You're creating this platform, and this platform is growing, and more people are seeing it, and more people are going to gravitate to it, and the value of this increases and improves because of what? Because of the value that you give to your viewers and your listeners and your followers. So it's not finite. So currency is finite. Money is unlimited. The value that you create is unlimited. You want more money? You want more money than 38 cents in your checking account? Create more value. It's 1-to-1. The higher the value, Oprah Winfrey was very popular at one particular point in time because there's only one of her and she gave so much value. Right? Mm-hmm. The more value she gave, the more popular she became. Denzel Washington, as an actor, the more value he gives in his performances, the wealthier he becomes. So we want more income, we want more money, we want more lifestyle, we give more value. We give more value to people than they're willing to, without that they will pay. Medicines. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, how much it sounds, value sounds very vast and important. It seems very integral to decision making. How much of how somebody values themselves goes into the decisions they make or don't make in life, just generally speaking?
Man, that's a perfect question to ask, Dwayne, because most people don't value themselves. I have a friend that has a business, and I talked to him the past 2 days. His business is incredible. And he'll be able to help a lot of different people with his business. I said, how much are you charging for your service? Oh, I'm giving it away right now because I need more knowledge. I need more information. There are people that don't do half the things that he's doing, and they're selling their projects for $5,000 a piece. He's giving it away. I was like, why are you giving it away? Because he doesn't believe in his skill set, because he doesn't value what he's created. The United States is the land that created the pet rock. The Beanie Baby. Right? I mean, people package rocks and say, oh, this is a pet rock, it's $50.
Yep.
It's like, are you freaking kidding me? Excuse my language. It's like, are you kidding me? This is a rock that I can go pick up off the street, paint a face on it, put ears on it, and sell it, and people will buy it.
I think in every generation, there's one completely useless idea that you can make millions off of in a very short window before people catch on. I really do.
Yeah. But so you're correct, though, when you say that it's broad. Value is subjective. It's what someone would be willing to pay for it, right? And most of us, getting back to your original premise, most of us don't value ourselves enough to give a price, right? The value of exchange. You know, your your time is finite. So I'm telling my wife this, just last night. Our time is finite. We only have so many hours in a day, and once that day is gone, it's not bankable. It's gone. And so, what do we do with our time, and how valuable is our time? If someone wants me to do something for them, and this is time that I have with my family, I've got 1 hour. I can spend it with my family, or I can spend it doing something else, working a project. If I'm going to work a project, that has to be the price that I'm willing to exchange and forego being with my family. It's no matter how we look at it, that's what it is. You know, most people get up, dark 30 in the morning, get in grab a cup of coffee, get some breakfast, jump in their car, go to work there, all day from sun up to sundown, get a lunch, clock out of work, go home, and then the rest of their day is theirs. How much are they getting paid for that time away from their family, away from their dreams? Because, they're working somebody else's dream. Their dream is being deferred. Someone else is making choices and decisions for them. They determine where you live. They determine where you drive. They determine what you eat. They determine where your kids go to school. They determine what kind of clothes you wear. They make the choices and decisions for you. If you were to decide that you want to make a change, yeah, you're going to have to give up those things that they gave you. But that's part of it. And that's part of the risk that we have to take in order to make a correct decision.
You know what's so interesting as you're talking is a decision is made whether you think you've made it or not. It's so fascinating once I think about it. If you don't make a decision, then things will happen as they should based on that indecision. If you make a decision, then you'll have a different trajectory. Hopefully it's a good one, but it could be a learning one also. So at the end of the day, even if somebody has maybe this paralysis of decision making, they're still making a decision in that moment. So it's almost like if things are going to happen, regardless of you consciously thinking that you're making a decision or not, then just make the decision, because ultimately something else, maybe the thing that you don't want to happen, will happen.
Yeah.
Which brings me to another point of decision fatigue. How much does this decision fatigue come into play? And how does somebody start to become more aware of when it's in play to ensure that they're making a decision through fresh, I guess, eyes, so to speak?
Yeah. No, that's a great point. We make choices and decisions at least 50,000 times a day. So it's subconsciously, it's always active. It's always taking place. Woke up this morning and the third thing out of my wife's mouth is she wants to go to D1, which is one of the stores where we go and we get the cleaning supplies, and she buys the liquid detergents and all that stuff so that she can wash clothes and that kind of thing. 6:30 in the morning, this is the third thought in your mind. You got to go get liquid detergent. Now, that's an example of this cognitive thinking that you're thinking about. It's just like one of the first 5 thoughts in your mind is that you're thinking about, you got to get up and you got to go to the store. From an outsider looking in, that's exhausting, right? But this is how some people are wired. That they're always looking at, okay, I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to talk to this person, this. And it's circular. It's always going. It's always going.
Yeah, that's a good explanation. What is something that you feel utmost of all the knowledge you have when you take into account the difficulty for some people around making decisions? What advice would you want to give?
I think that the biggest factor or input in any choice and decision that any individual makes regardless of the topic, is them. You are the author and creator of your life. You are the author and creator of the results of the decisions and choices that you make. You are the author and creator and the person responsible for the results of the choices and decisions that you make. If you want to have better choices and decisions, be a better person. And what does that look like? For you, it may be different than what it would look like for me. It's based upon what our dreams, what our goals, what we want our life to look like. And honestly, Dwayne, what I've come to realize since April 4th, 2026, that if I don't have the things in my life that I wanted, it's my own damn fault.
Well, this is the part where we do the letter to your former self.
Okay. Well, this was a former self as of April, because we're always moving. Todd, the shingles told you what you wouldn't admit. The system runs through you. Every decision, every output, every node that isn't dedication, it's fragility. Decision integrity means the decision survives the decider. You sell that to others. Apply it to yourself first. If Sovereo stops when you stop, you haven't built a company, you've built a dependency. Document the decisions, codify the standards, delegate the execution. The methodology is the asset. Your daily presence is not. Build it so it runs without you. That is the only version that works. Your former self.
Awesome. Todd, thank you so much for this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dwayne. I appreciate you, brother.